Well, hello and welcome to this portion of the webinar. I am Dr. Donna Rodgers, and my subject today is from the PTA to the boardroom. Anyone can lead. I would like to welcome you today, and I want to let you know that you will be learning why being a leadership is necessary to achieve your goals. And more importantly, you're going to find out why leadership is available to everyone. Why Dr. Donna believes that anyone can lead from the PTA to the boardroom. My primary objective for you today is to ensure that you become your best by leveraging one of my 11 colorful leadership principles. And that leadership principle today is PINK. It stands for powerful, innovative, natural, and knowledgeable. The agenda for this portion of the webinar is as follows. Leadership, myth versus fact. I am a CEO. Victim versus victor. Leading and how it will change your life. Fear is good, so learn how to use it. No more excuses, and real leaders wear pink. Leadership, myth versus fact. We often hear about several myths with respect to leadership, and today I'm just going to focus on 3 to dispel the rumors. Myth, only certain people can be leaders. Well, the fact is, leadership is free to everyone. Therefore, we all have access to it. There isn't this secret meeting that all of the top leaders have and they come together and they share secrets and they don't share them with us. In fact, there is so much leadership information available to you on the internet, at the library, at your local bookstores, and of course, through Dr. Donna. Myth number 2, leaders are born. Well, the fact is, leaders are made. I will tell you that my path to leadership was a fluke, honestly. When I was in the 9th grade of high school, we had a PE requirement in which we needed to take 2 semesters of some type of physical education. Well, I have 2 left feet. Therefore, there was no way I was ever going to be able to take gymnastics or dance. The only alternatives that were left for me were physical education, which is some of you may call it gym, and then ROTC. Well, I decided at 14 I was not about to mess up my hair and my look because I knew that I was fabulous. My alternative was ROTC, JROTC. I knew going into it I was only wearing that uniform every Wednesdays with those ugly shoes for 2 semesters and then I was done. But what happened was love at first sight. Oh, was Dr. Donna power hungry back then. I loved yelling at people. I mean, I enjoyed it. I loved making people feel terrible and low because at that time I thought that that was what leadership was all about. 15 years later, I'm here to tell you, well, actually 22 years later, I'm here to tell you that that is not what leadership is about, and it is about so much more. Myth number 3, men make better leaders than women. We often hear it, if a woman was president and it was time to press the button, she would get all emotional and she wouldn't be able to do it. Well, I will tell you that in my 15 years of being a leadership expert, I've seen both men and women become very emotional, and I've seen both men and women be very effective in their roles, especially when it was time to make tough decisions. And that is why fact number 3 is simple. Anyone can lead from the PTA to the boardroom. I am a CEO. Did you know that you were a CEO? You are. Your company is Me Incorporated. You have a mission, and your mission in life is to go after your life's passion as if your life depended on it. Oh, wait a minute. It does depend on it. Your mission in life is to wake up every day in pursuit of your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, and the ultimate happiness. You have goals, and what you need to do with those goals is simply write them down, set action plans to those goals, and then focus on accomplishing those goals. You, like most CEOs, want to be profitable. There are very few people who wake up and tell themselves, I want to be poor. I want to be in a state where I don't know where my next meal is coming from and I don't know if I'm going to make it tomorrow. Most of us don't wake up feeling that way. In fact, we wake up aspiring to be great. We aspire to leave legacies to our children. And that can only be accomplished if we are profitable. Next, you want to achieve your dreams. We all came here with a given talent, and we want to pursue that dream as if it were air. And then, like most companies, we want to have great people on our team. I've never been in a sports competition where people have said, I just want a bunch of losers on my team, and we'll be okay. Now, I'm not suggesting that winning is everything, but I am saying when you have a group of people together wanting to go towards the same goal, it feels great. And when you win, that's just icing on the cake. Also, as a CEO, you have the right to live a happy, complete, and whole life. And I know that I am talking about leadership, and most people think that leadership is all of this theoretical nonsense or a bunch of mumbo jumbo that you can't really use or put together. My path for leadership and for you is for the everyday leader. It's for that person who wakes up and just wants to go to work and be the best employee that they can be. It's also for that CEO who wants to take their company to the next level, because leadership principles are the same no matter what your role is in life. And then finally, as the CEO, begin to see yourself as a victor and not a victim. When you take a proactive approach to your life and your situation, at that point, then you are able to change all that is going on in your life for the better. A victim versus a victor. Here are just a couple of sayings that, as I've interviewed clients over the years and I've had employees and soldiers, some of the statements that demonstrate a victim mentality versus a victor mentality. A victim says, this happened to me. I don't know what I'm going to do because this happened to me. But a victor says, I am responsible for me and what transpires in my life. I control my destiny and I am the master of my fate. A victim makes excuses. Whenever something happens or they're not able to accomplish a task or a goal, the excuses start coming out of their mouth 100 miles a minute. Well, I wasn't prepared, and I didn't have enough time, and you don't understand my background, and you don't know where my parents came from, and blah, 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 and on and on and on. But a victor simply says, here is the situation. How do I resolve it? What's the best case scenario? What are the best solutions possible to resolve this and move forward? A victim, they blame everyone. Have you ever just come across someone and it is never, ever, 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 ever their fault? It's always somebody else's responsibility. It's always someone else's issue that caused them to be in that particular predicament. When I was in the military in Korea, I had a pastor that said, every time you point your finger at someone, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you. So ultimately, you are responsible. And that is why a victor takes ownership over their situation. And then finally, a victim believes that the odds are stacked against them. I'll use myself for this example. I am from a single parent home. I come from a family of a long line of alcoholics and druggies, and I'm from an impoverished neighborhood. I should have never gone to college, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. But I took a victor stance towards my life, and I know that as a victor, I was able to win. And that is the stance that you need to be able to take in your life. In my book, Real Leaders Wear Pink, I often talk about, can you see it? Okay, there we go. In my book, Real Leaders Wear Pink, I talk about a situation between my cousin, myself, and my other cousin. We worked at McDonald's, and all of us were working and wanting to change the situation. And they constantly complained every day, day in and day out. And I was able to take control of that situation and feel empowered when I was in that job. And that's just a small example of victim versus victor. Well, how can leading change your life? Give yourself permission to fail. Now I know everybody's ready to jump off the webinar now because you're thinking, Dr. Donna, you probably have been using some of those drugs that your family members were using. But I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. I sit before you today sober and clean and wanting you to give yourself permission to fail. Because as adults, we don't like taking risk. And because we don't want to fail, we don't act at all. And so if you never fail, how can you succeed and how can you find out what you're good at? Benjamin Franklin had a quote where he said he found 10,000 ways that electricity does not work. Isn't that amazing? Instead of saying, I failed 10,000 times, he took a victor's approach and said, I know 10,000 ways that no matter what you do, electricity will never, ever work. Wake up every day and see yourself as a leader. When you get up in the morning and after you finish stretching and you do your morning rituals, you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, I am the CEO of Me Incorporated. I am a victor and I am in control of my life. Because when you do that, as life happens throughout the day and throughout the months and the years, then you feel like you have control over the situation. Right now in the economy, people are getting let go, laid off as you turn around. Every single day, another company is downsizing or going out of business. And the people impacted by that can look at that situation from a victim perspective, or they can look at the situation from a victor perspective. If you are one of those people impacted by being downsized or outsourced to another country, see it as an opportunity to start your own business. There were people who made millions of dollars during the Depression because adverse times causes us to do and think differently. For some reason, when the odds are stacked against us and we're pressed against the wall, there is innovation and thought-provoking ideas that come out of that. Take a leadership approach in all of your decisions. When something happens, think of what a leader would do. Because as a regular person, if something happens to us, we kind of brush it off or we put it away or we just think, oh, I'm not responsible for this. But when something happens and you take a leadership approach, then you can change your destiny. I'll use myself as an example again. When I was going through my divorce, I had an infant child. I was 956 miles away from my closest family members, and I could have used that as an opportunity to just throw the towel in and say, forget it. But it was in that moment that I decided to go back to school and work on my doctorate. I paid all my debt off, and I took care of my daughter, who's a wonderful, almost 8-year-old right now. Well, she'll be 8 in December. But I took control of that situation, and I did not allow that situation to take control of me. And that is what I am suggesting to you, is that in all your activities and everything that occurs in your life, make all of your decisions from a leadership standpoint. Always look at the brighter side of every situation. I had a near-death experience 3 years ago. I went into the hospital to have an outpatient surgery that almost killed me. I laid in the hospital for 13 days, MPO, no food, no water. I lost 18 pounds and I looked like Granny off of the Beverly Hillbillies. And while I laid there in that hospital bed, I thought to myself, if I ever make it out of this hospital, I am going to live life to the fullest, because tomorrow isn't promised to anyone. And that's the approach that I take from that day forward. I'm just excited about life, and I just do so much, and I challenge myself at every opportunity, and I always see the brighter side in that situation. And that leads me to my next point of thinking positively. No matter what happens in life, the glass is half full. We are energetic beings, and what happens is when you put negative energy out there, that is what comes back. So when you think positively, the universe has to honor that, and then positive things will happen in your life. Another method that you need to take into consideration is eliminating distractions. What I've noticed is that when people become distracted, they lose focus, and then they can't pursue their dreams. An example for me would be when I was married. I wasn't in the best marriage, and I don't want to disrespect my ex-husband, but I just married the wrong person. And I was so distracted. I started dressing differently, acting differently, and I became this other person. And as a result, I wasn't my